Good evening and welcome to the December 1st edition of Ian Zev's YouTube station. It's going to be a quick one tonight, but there's a lot of stuff to talk about. First off, I have a big problem. Well, it's not really a big problem. More like a 16-ounce problem, but it could lead to a big problem. And that is, I can't stop drinking regular Coke. It's so good. And I know it's bad for me. I know it's gonna rot my fake teeth. Actually, I don't know that. But it's not gonna help my weight issues. So I have to stop. So send me positive messages. First off, thing I want to talk about is the Derek Chauvin stabbing, which, as we know, I am no fan of Derek Chauvin. I don't like Derek Chauvin. I believe he's a murderer, but I don't believe in prison stabbings. I am a prisoner rights advocate, and I don't get to pick and choose or cherry pick. I never liked cherries, though. Who is a victim of abuse in prison and who is not. So, but ironically, the person who stabbed him was a fellow inmate by the name of, hold on, let me pull it up right here, the article of John Tursak, who is facing multiple assault charges, attempted murder charges, and will most likely get 60 years tagged onto his already life sentence. But in 1997, he was an FBI informant who brought down like 40 gang members, which I find crazy. There are 40 people in prison right now because of this guy, because he was a police informant. And then he just couldn't give up the lifestyle, kept dealing drugs, kept trying to kill people. He was dropped as an informant and was put back in prison. What a shame. He had another opportunity at life and squandered it. I never like hearing that, regardless of who they are, what they did. If someone gets a second chance, I know I've had second, third, fourth, fifth chances, and he squandered it. And now it looks like he will be spending the rest of his life, no matter what, in prison. And that's a shame. Next, I want to talk about the death. There have been 3 major deaths in the past week. Now, first one I'm going to talk about is Henry Kissinger. Now, I know Henry Kissinger is a very controversial figure who a lot of people have negative thoughts about. A lot of people, are not grieving over this, but this is not the station where we celebrate the death of people. So if you're celebrating the death of him, you're more than welcome to be a member here. Actually, subscribe. Subscribe. And I'm sure in coming episodes we will talk about his legacy and why certain people felt very negatively about him. But today is not going to be that day. I'm just going to talk about just a few of the positive things he did. He did open China. He was the first non-American Secretary of State. I know, this chandelier is annoying. I have to do something about it. I get it. It almost seems like, the heavens are coming down upon me. And also, this is the first one I'm doing without glasses. Because I realize, if I put on the glasses, there's a glare. And I don't want to prevent you from seeing these beautiful eyes. So, Henry Kissinger was instrumental in ending the Vietnam War. His parents escaped from Nazi Germany when he was 15 years old. And he was a resource to many presidents and secretaries of state alike. He was the first non-American born Secretary of State. And that's all we're going to talk about Henry Kissinger. I have certain opinions, but once again, this is not a station where we celebrate death. But you still can subscribe to it even if you do celebrate death. You're encouraged to. Got to make it to that 50 so I can start going live. But two deaths we're going to talk about. First is the death of Rosalynn Carter, the wife of Jimmy Carter, who I have always said was the best man to ever serve the presidency of the United States. Now, let's decipher what I'm saying. I'm not saying he was the best president ever. I'm saying he was the best man to ever serve the office. He was almost too good for the office. Let's see, I'm going to try to drink water. And they were married for 77 years. Can you imagine being with someone for 77 years? And Rosalynn Carter was a advocate for mental health. Before the Carter administration, if you suffered or anybody suffered from mental health, I'm going to talk about some of my struggles at a later date. You were just, deemed crazy and thrown away. But she testified in front of Congress on February 7th, 1979, which led to the commission of the Mental Health Systems Act of 1980, which unfortunately was repealed when Ronald Reagan took office, but then didn't stop her. She founded the Carter Center for Mental Health in 1982, along with her then former president, Jimmy Carter. And in 1996, the Carters launched the Rosalynn Carter Fellowship for Mental Health Journalism to combat the stigma through storytelling. I highly suggest anyone look into it. She was an amazing woman. And the fact that she lived such a long... How long did she live? I think it was either 93 or 97 years. Let's see. Rosalynn Carter. The internet makes everything so easy to get. From her birthday was August 18th, 1927. She passed away November 19th, 2023. And I am bad at math, so we're going to cheat, do a little calculation. I'm actually somewhat decent at math, just not in my head. And so 2023 minus 19... No, I already messed it up. 2023 minus 1927. And being she had celebrated her birthday this year, she was 96. It's a nice long life. And 77 of those years were spent married to Jimmy Carter. And Jimmy Carter is quite the man to spend a life with. And he is still alive. And upon this podcast, we send him our condolences, because she was an amazing woman. He's an amazing man. Next, we're going to talk about the passing, just this morning, actually, of Sandra Day O'Connor. And we're going to go into a little bit of politics here. Sandra Day O'Connor was the first female Supreme Court justice. She was appointed by then President Ronald Reagan. And hold on, I remember she stepped down when I was in law school, because she stepped down, and then like a week later, William Rehnquist, who was the Chief Justice, passed away. And I'll tell that story, but current Chief Justice Roberts was originally nominated to be an Associate Justice. They had to pull his nomination to renominate him to be the Chief Justice. And then when she stepped down, January 31st, 2006, was replaced by Samuel Alito, who we will avoid talking about on this specific issue. She was a moderate conservative. A lot of her decisions I did not agree with. Some of her decisions I did agree with. She was also from Arizona. I was sort of from Arizona. However, I do believe she was a good woman. However, had she voted the right way, we wouldn't have had George W. Bush. But we'll talk about that in another day. She did uphold McCain-Feingold. That was a great vote she made. What else did she do? She supported school vouchers, not the biggest fan of that. Unconstitutional gun-free school zones, not a big fan of that, but she was a First Amendment hawk. And she was very big on the separation of church and state, which is something I am very big on. She also was very big on desegregating the schools, but she was also pro-death penalty. So a mixed judicial record. I think what I most respect her for is what she did afterwards. After she retired and Justice David Souter retired, who, although he was appointed by George H.W. Bush, ended up being one of the more liberal justices, they created an institute. I want to get the name of it. O'Connor Souter Institute, maybe? Let's see. Institute. Come on here. David Souter, Sandra Day O'Connor. Oh, she was proposed to 4 times. I wasn't proposed to 4 times, that's for sure. Okay, I don't know what it was called, but her and David Souter created an institute where they went around the country talking about the importance of teaching civics in schools, in high schools, that there was just a lack of understanding of the 3 branches of government, how a bill becomes a law, just your basic things that everyone should know. And how successful she was, time will tell. Time will definitely tell, but the effort to put that in, I think, should be her legacy. And being the first female Supreme Court justice. But the politics I want to talk about is a lot of the Republicans, of which I am not one, came down very hard on then candidate Biden for claiming that he promised to appoint a black female to the Supreme Court. And they said, and their argument was that type of qualification should not be considered. Just the best person for the job gets it. What they didn't bring up is that Ronald Reagan, when he was candidate Reagan, said that he will nominate the most qualified female jurist to the Supreme Court. So, little bit of a double standard there. So when Biden did it, bad, bad, bad. When Reagan did it, good, good, good. It's what I've become to get used to the Republican Party. But either way, she was, how old was she? Let's see. Oh, Henry Kissinger was 100, if I didn't say that. Sandra Day O'Connor was 93. 93. And regardless of some of the decisions she made, I didn't agree with. I believe she was a wonderful woman and definitely goes down as a positive part of our history. Tomorrow, we're going to be getting one of two things. Either I will be debating Justin on a topic we haven't decided yet, or I will be talking about a presidential impeachment. Yeah, you probably think I'm talking about Trump. Not talking about Trump. Maybe you're thinking I'm talking about Bill Clinton. Not talking about Bill Clinton. Maybe you think I'm talking about Richard Nixon. Well, you need to study a little history because Richard Nixon wasn't impeached, he resigned. But we're going to talk about the first presidential impeachment. Andrew Johnson in the 1860s. It's not very what? It's not talked about a lot, but it's a very important, crucial piece of history. So either way, subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. And either way, don't know what the topic will be yet. I'll announce it midday tomorrow on Facebook, or maybe I'll do like a short, 60-second short on YouTube, just announcing what the topic's going to be. Either way, love you all. Subscribe. Have a wonderful evening. And remember, big problem. Comment. Ian, stop. Just drink water. Just drink diet soda. Just drink anything but this garbage. So good, though. So good. Okay. Have a wonderful night. Love you all.